Now we've heard from the F1 and F1.5 generation. One of Gunny's requests was that we get some representation from the F2s. And the eldest of those is Kearney Gunsalus, the oldest daughter of Tina and Mike. And she's currently in the graduate program at the University of Wisconsin doing, I guess, another cellular and molecular biologist. And when I first met Kearney, she was dead sure she was going to be a writer. I don't know what caused the switch, but she's going to tell us a little bit about what her generation is thinking about and her reflections of Dad, too.
I'm sure that many of you would agree that the passing of my grandfather represents the end of an era, but that also means that it's the beginning of a new era. And it's time now not to live in his shadow, but to bask in his legacy. My grandfather was a very complicated man, by turns charming, infuriating, and generous. But he left us a lot of lessons to live by, and I'd like to share a few from my childhood. I remember that when we used to call him on the telephone, he would say whatever he had to say to us, and then he would hang up without warning. When he came over for dinner, he had this disconcerting habit of letting himself in, even if the front door was locked. But in contrast, on a few memorable occasions, he took me out to dinner, and he knew all of the waiters by name, and he joked with them and asked after their families. He did teach me that being friendly to acquaintances was an investment, and that a smile cost nothing. He seemed, however, to take immediate family for granted. I think he got that one a little backwards. I loved hearing stories about our ancestors, but I never knew that he had a sister, let alone two of them, until Chris's wedding. In spite of this little oversight, there were a lot of lessons that we can learn from these stories. One of the main recurring themes of these stories was that it's largely education that separates our privileged lives from that of our ancestor wintering in a sod hut on the South Dakota prairie with an iron anvil to kill the rats. I also remember hearing about his anxiety when he transferred from South Dakota State to Cornell. He was worried that he wouldn't be up to snuff, but he found that, in fact, he was, if anything, better prepared than his Cornell colleagues for his advanced classes. He told me that it was really essential to learn the fundamentals, as he had at South Dakota State, and that was the key to being an indispensable scientist. Another valuable concept that I learned from Gunny is called matching dollars. When I was very small, he told me that all of the savings that I had in my savings account by my 12th birthday, he would match. Now, this was never in danger of being very much money, since my savings consisted largely of the pocket change which he brought with him in vitamin bottles when he visited. But as a budding academic, this is a concept I intend to use fully later in my career. I'd like to end with just a few words from the man himself. I still remember the first birthday card I ever received from him. It was in my early teens, and it was a fairly typical happy birthday granddaughter card, pink with a rainbow. And the inside bore the printed message and a yellow Post-it note, which in Gunny's handwriting read, "The white picket fence I walk through life. Love, G." Now, I have no idea what the white picket fence is about, but I know he loved us. Thank you.